You're in-house counsel, and you are working on in-house legal metrics. So tell us a little bit about how that came about.
Absolutely. I've been a lawyer about 20 years. I've been an in-house lawyer for 15 years, and I learned about and joined the staffing industry about 7 years ago. 3 months ago, I joined Eliason Group in order to help revitalize their legal department and see what we could do to really grow the business. For legal metrics, I was forced into it about 5 years ago. The COO at my last company came into town as a disciple of a guy named Dr. Deming, an old American guy who taught Toyota how to be Toyota, taught them metrics. He's very famous in the Far East, not so famous here in America these days, but Dr. Deming talks about measuring everything. My old COO said, all right, JT, you're the head of legal. What are we doing with regards to litigation and contracts and subcontracts and everything else? And I wasn't counting them. He said, well, how many contracts did we do last month? And I said something along the lines of a lot. We're very busy. We come in early, we work late. And he's a nice guy, but his answer was, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to process that. You know, what are the numbers? How many are submitted? How many are reviewed? How long do they take to get reviewed? And I quietly fought him for weeks or months until finally he said, you're going to do metrics. So let's figure out what you're going to do.
So clearly you're a subscriber to the old adage that you can't manage what you can't measure.
Exactly, That's exactly right. And so I had heard it, I knew about it. I have a law degree, not a business degree, so I didn't really study it, but I did not think this was going to apply. I just didn't think it was going to apply in the legal department for all the different things that we do. Little by little, with one big bang, he made me do it, and then little by little, I became a firm believer. After we started to count them, wow, there was real power in the counting. For staffing industry, a big part of it is contracts.
Correct.
Lots and lots of contracts. So I think of it up and down the chain. So with the staffing company in the middle, up the chain to the end client. So end client contracts is a big deal. You know, you process those and do those properly every month. And for medium to big staffing companies, that can be tens or hundreds of contracts every month. You also have the contracts, I call it, going down the chain from the staffing company down to either to the new W-2 employees, the temporary labor, or down to suppliers, to little staffing companies that maybe you use for niche placements. And there's, we call those suppliers or subcontracts, and those can be tens or hundreds of subcontracts every month that get submitted. Without counting, we were busy, but we didn't have a handle of how to do it. Once we started counting them, wow, we really saw the power. I mean, the greatest thing for me as the in-house lawyer was it allowed me over a 2-year period to show the growth in the number of contracts and to make the pitch which got approved to add another lawyer to the team. Without that, they could have said, yeah, you're busy, but maybe you're not efficient, or you're busy, but how do we control it?
So when you talk about your matrix, obviously you're talking numbers sort of like a sales, which is what you do, but at the same time, you have lawyers now yourself and a deputy GC who are involved in different types of agreements. So your role is, what's interesting is from what I understand is that you really get involved in all aspects because you're dealing with the human resources,
Absolutely.
You're dealing with contracts,
Absolutely.
And so you're really, as your lawyer, you're really involved in the business.
Fully involved. I've got to be involved to be a good lawyer. There certainly are lots of in-house lawyers that just kind of hide themselves in the proverbial ivory tower, that just work on the legal issues,
right,
and don't want to be involved. That doesn't make sense to me. Those are the people in the skyscrapers in downtown Boston and the fancy law firms. For the in-house lawyer to be a good one, in my opinion, you have to be involved in the business. You have to understand what the sales guys, the sales ladies are doing on the street. You have to understand what finance is confronting.
Right.
You have to understand what marketing is looking at. So my metrics, yep, absolutely look at contracts with end clients, so it's important. Contracts with suppliers. We also look at litigation every week. We look at hirings. We look at firings. We look at taxes and leases and exports. We track it all, we measure it all, we know how many each month we work on, we know how many dollars we spend on internal items, we know how many dollars we spend very carefully on external legal resources.